We're going to try and do everything in one take.
One take?
One take.
Like
Jay-Z.
Jay-Z?
Ask away. It's F&F Q&A. Hey everybody, welcome to F&F Q&A 34. Thanks for checking out the show. It's a new year. I hope you guys are having a great time. I know that there's probably a few people, even though we're only a week in, have already given up on their resolutions. Don't do that. Get back into it. Don't let that be your thing. We're doing a Biggest Losers group in the salon right now, so as soon as we're done with this, I'm off to the gym because I need to beat everybody. But I'm super excited because what we do have coming up really soon is our design hands-on cutting class. It is here in Chicago at our Salon and Academy on January 24th. And we currently, as of this recording, only have 4 spaces still available for the hands-on portion. So if you are interested, I would highly suggest coming. It's going to have Christian Awesome, who was on the show last week, Shannon Foltz, who is one of our directors of education, along with Christian here at the Hair Loft, and myself going over cutting and designing a guest experience in the salon. We also then have a men's program coming up in March. And then we also just announced that Sugar Skulls, Mr. Carlos Ramos, is going to be with us in April. So you'll definitely want to come and see that class. He's fantastic, and this is his first trip to Chicago, so we're looking forward to making it a huge class. So that's just some New Year's updates. Let's get into the questions.
When a stylist does a color model, how or who pays for the service or product usage?
My belief is that the salon should always be covering the cost of this. I think that when the priority of when our stylists or our proteges are doing color for a workshop, that the priority is making sure that they are in the best position in order to get the education that they need. And so if that means that a protege was supposed to have a model, but then she's thinking, well, I don't have the extra money to get that color, that's just going to get in the way of the learning process. And at the same time, I don't necessarily think that at that point, when you're trying to get people in for a protege to be able to start building their knowledge base and take guests for class formats, that it's the best thing to then charge the guest. You could say, like, we're just going to do a nominal $20 fee, basically to just cover the cost. But I think it's much easier if you just simply call it a complimentary service and just invite that guest in, and so then nobody has to worry about it. It is for the business an investment in that stylist so that they can have the learning experience and continue to have the career that you want them to have. So that's why I would say just eat it. If it is something for promotional work, like if you're doing a photo shoot or something like that, then of course, if it's going for the salon should pay for it. I just think that it's a business expense. It's not something that should be passed down to the individual, because then that becomes the individual's response. And this is one of the reasons that I think that people tend to have a more independent attitude wanting to move away from salons, is because they don't feel like there's enough benefits to working in them. And so it's a very simple thing for us to say, okay, you've got a color workshop, $15, like, is that's about what we're talking about getting upset about. Here's $15 worth of product so that you don't have to worry about it and it's just covered. So I would say the salon should pay for it.
I'm looking to increase my average ticket price by offering mini service add-ons. Any ideas that have worked well for you?
I like this question because it is rooted in a good understanding of business. If we want to increase our services, we are either going to need to find more guests, increase the frequency in which the guests that already come to see us come, or offer our guests more services for them to do. Now, without more context to this, I don't know what your current service per guest is. I would say that if it is on the lower end, say it's 1 to 1.2, you're already not taking enough advantage of the current service menu to need to offer more things. I think that there's 2 ways that we can kind of look at this. We can look at this as a McDonald's approach or an Apple approach. So with McDonald's, if you look at the way that they market, they are typically, no pun intended, but a flavor of the month, where they're constantly introducing new items, whether it's this McPick 2 or some sort of spicy McChicken barbecue, something like, there's always something new. And so that's their approach, is constantly trying to throw new things at you, which isn't really working for McDonald's. They're in a lot of hurt right now. Versus Apple, which is very strategic with how they introduce new products, and they do very few things, but they do them very well. And so they didn't really introduce the iPad until the iPhone had really hit a pinnacle point. They didn't really introduce the new watch until the iPad had really hit a huge amount of sales. And so my thought is, don't be McDonald's, right? Don't just try and come up with a new product or new service, rather, to just throw at people and be like, well, I could do this or I could do this. Really think about the things that you want to do before doing them and then offer those. And I would even say there's no sense necessarily, unless it's a completely different area, to introduce something, say like extensions. Now that's not really a quick service, but it would be a new service introduction that wouldn't really be something that you were covering. If you're looking for quick things to do, mini facials are great for the wash house. Treatments are great because they don't add a lot of time. Doing a mini highlight with a color so that you can, break it up. There's so many different things that you can do. It's more the philosophy of which way are you trying to go. And I bet that there's a ton of room on the menu that you already have that you're not completely taking advantage of yet. And so really think about the guests that could already be enjoying more without introducing more.
Do you mark products at suggested retail price? Some companies suggest retail 40%. If you pay your stylist retail commission and you do a buy one, get one half off, you can actually be at a break even or loss depending on what you pay out in commission.
This is always an interesting topic to me because I find that we are constantly pulled in two different directions, where you hear a lot of owners complain about diversion, where products are, counterfeit or gray marketed, but they're marked more expensive than the salon, and so that's always kind of like our battle cry, right? It's more expensive and you don't know where it's come from. Don't buy it there. Okay. And then on the other side, we have people, especially I feel like in smaller areas maybe, or maybe in the city too, that are upset about places like Ulta, where it is legitimate product, but they are able to price it at a point that then the consumer thinks that it's less expensive if they buy it there. So where does the salon go? And so with this question, well, we can't mark it up higher than the diverted product price because then we can't be upset about that. And if we still want to compete over here, if we're more expensive than Ulta, then there's really nothing that we can say to the consumer to say, don't buy it there. And so my suggestion to you is that it would be better, and this is what we do, to market at suggested retail price so that you are able to be lower than the diverted product and at the same price as an Ulta product. And you will probably end up selling more at the suggested retail price versus marking it up an extra $1 or $2 so that you can get a higher margin. There are ways to have a better margin, whether you are buying the product during a special and then breaking it apart. Some distributors and some companies do case pricing, where if you can buy it by a case of 10 or 12, then you might be able to save 50 cents or $1 per bottle. Those are some of the things that we do. But if you're in a position where you marginally can't do a buy one, get one half off, then don't do a buy one, get one half off, right? Because then you're competing just to compete with something like an Ulta, but you're losing in the long run, and so that's not going to help you. I would take advantage of the specials and the deals that your manufacturer is doing during that segment, whether that's every 2 months or 3 months or whatever their thing is, and use those to your advantage and build that into your promotions versus necessarily having to do your own in-house product promotions and risk coming out upside down on your margins and your profits.
Looking for suggestions on how to start asking for a credit card number to hold the appointment. I'm aware that many salons and spas do this, and I'm sure it cuts down on no-shows.
Trying to cut down on our no-shows is certainly a good priority to have. If you're going to ask for a credit card, I think that it's very simple to be able to say, in order to secure your reservation, we would like to take a credit card in order to hold that. Maybe call a hotel or a restaurant and see how they would do it, and then just borrow or steal that dialogue. It's pretty easy to take from places that do things well and incorporate them into your own systems. My bigger thought here, though, is by taking that credit card, unless you have a secure way of doing it, you're opening yourself up to a risk. And some software, if people book online, like I know our SDX program that we use, Salon Transcripts, they do have an option for us to take a deposit for reservations that are made online through our website. But I just don't do it. We also don't have a cancellation policy where I'm going to charge the guests 50% or something if they've missed a reservation. It's just different styles. If that's your approach and you want to go that way, by all means, do it to it. But I would say just be very aware and make sure that there's a secure way that you are holding these credit cards. Because if it's just people writing them down on sticky notes and keeping them all over the desk or on the computers or in just some text file, you're running the risk of something happening to it. Not necessarily that anything would, but there's a risk that something could happen. And so I would make sure that you have software capable of doing this before getting into it. Unless you're just trying to use it as a scare tactic and say, what is your credit card number and we're going to hold it, and you never actually plan on doing anything with it and you just want them to come in. But I would say that there's better ways to make sure that people are coming in, whether that is through email confirmations, telephone confirmations, or text reminders. There's a lot of other stuff that could be done without opening yourself up to having to have the responsibility to watch out for people's credit cards. This was F&F Q&A. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I would greatly appreciate you liking, commenting. Do you agree with my answers? What are your thoughts? I'd love to hear them in the comments below. And sharing this with your hairstylist and salon owner friends, that would mean a lot. As I mentioned, we have a ton of great classes. If you want to check those out, just go to ffsaloneducation.com/academy and you can see everything that we have coming up for the whole year. And with that, I'm Benjamin J. You can follow me online, follow Form and Function as well, and keep asking questions. We'll see you next time.